Have you ever looked around your home and felt a weight on your chest, like every object is screaming for your attention all at once? You're not alone. In a world where success is measured by quantity, the Japanese have followed a different path for centuries, the path of intentional reduction. Today I'm going to share with you 5 lessons from Japanese minimalism that have transformed my life. They're not complicated rules. They're invitations to breathe easier. I almost gave up on recording this video. I thought, just another piece of content about minimalism. But then I remembered what my friend Hiroshi, a craftsman from Kyoto, told me. What we need isn't more voices shouting, but more meaningful silences. And that's what Japanese minimalism offers. Not just an aesthetic style, but a path to inner silence. Shall we begin? Have you ever noticed how agitated your mind gets after spending an hour on social media? Like you've run a marathon, but without leaving your spot. In Japanese schools, children practice a few minutes of silence before class. It's not formal meditation. It's just a moment to create mental space before receiving new information. When I visited one of these schools in Nara, I asked a teacher why they did this. She smiled and said, "A full cup cannot receive more tea. Your mind is like that cup, constantly filled with notifications, conversations, worries, plans, to-do lists. When was the last time you allowed it to empty completely? Try this small exercise tomorrow. Before picking up your phone in the morning, sit on the edge of your bed for 2 minutes. Just breathe and observe your thoughts without clinging to them, like clouds passing in the sky." A Japanese businessman I met in Tokyo told me that after a breakdown from stress, his doctor prescribed yohaku, intentional space, in his schedule. I started blocking out 2 hours a day for absolutely nothing. At first it was uncomfortable, but I soon realized that it was in these empty spaces that I found my best ideas. You don't need 2 hours. Start with 2 minutes. When we reduce external stimuli, we discover something surprising. Many of our desires and urges aren't really ours. They're just noise we absorb from the environment. In stillness, you begin to distinguish your own voice from the echoes of the world. Look around you right now. Count how many objects you can see without moving your head. In a traditional Japanese home, that number would be significantly lower. Not out of poverty, but out of deliberate choice. The concept of ma represents the empty space between objects, a space that isn't absence, but possibility. When I visited a tea house in Kyoto, I was impressed by its simplicity. Just a floral arrangement, a scroll on the wall, and cushions to sit on. The host noticed my surprise and explained, "Emptiness is not nothing. It's the field where everything happens." This principle applies not only to physical spaces, but also to time. When your schedule is filled minute by minute, there's no no space for the unexpected, for creativity, for meaningful chance. An elderly Japanese client once showed me her home. In an almost empty room, there was only a vase with a single blooming branch. "This is my treasure this week," she said. "When you reduce to the essential, each thing becomes extraordinary. You don't have to empty your house. Start by creating a small area of a corner of the table, a shelf, a piece of wool where nothing is intentionally placed. Notice how your eyes and your mind naturally rest in that space. This is perhaps the most practical principle of Japanese minimalism, and yet the hardest to follow consistently. For every new item that enters your life, something must leave. New shirt, an old one goes away. New book, an old one finds a new home. New app, delete one you barely use. This principle goes beyond physical organization. It's a philosophy of balance. It recognizes that we have limited capacity, whether of space, attention, or energy. An architect from Kyoto shared with me that his family has a tradition called mottainai, which expresses sadness for waste. Before discarding anything, we ask ourselves, can we fix it, reuse it, donate it? This simple ritual has reduced our consumption by more than 60%. When we practice one in, one out, we're not just organizing our space. We're questioning the endless cycle of consumption that we've been taught as normal. I experienced this when I moved to a small apartment in Tokyo. At first it was frustrating, then liberating. Each purchase decision became more conscious because I knew something would have to leave to make room for the new. There is a quiet joy in passing on what no longer serves you, not as disposal, but as continuation. What was valuable to you may be exactly what someone else needs now. In Japanese minimalism, each object must pass through a simple filter. Does it have practical function or carry genuine sentimental value? There is no middle ground. There is no maybe someday I'll need it. There is no "it was on sale." There is no "everyone has one." A Japanese friend invited me to her house after she had gone through the process she called life curation. On her bookshelf, previously crammed with books, only 30 volumes remained. These, she explained, are the books that changed my life or that I reread frequently. The others were just taking up space on my shelf and in my mind. This filter doesn't just apply to objects. We can use it for relationships, commitments, even for content we consume. This video you're watching now, does it have practical function for your life, or does it awaken a genuine feeling? If not, it's okay to move on. Imagine your belongings as a Japanese garden. Each element is carefully considered, not for its isolated beauty, but for how it contributes to the harmony of the whole. Nothing is there by chance. Nothing is there just because. Have you ever heard of decision fatigue? It's the mental exhaustion we feel after making many choices, even small ones. What to wear, what to eat, which series to watch, which route to take to work, which message to answer first. Each decision, however small, consumes mental energy. At the end of the day, our ability to make good choices is compromised. Japanese minimalism drastically reduces the number of daily decisions. When I visited a Zen monastery in Kamakura, I noticed that the monks wore almost identical clothes. Breakfast was always the same, the routines predictable. I asked an elderly monk if this wasn't monotonous. He smiled and replied, "When I don't have to decide what to wear or eat, my mind is free for more important matters." True creativity doesn't come from having infinite options, but from exploring the essential ones deeply. Steve Jobs wore the same clothes every day, not for lack of options, but to eliminate a daily decision and preserve mental energy for more important decisions. You don't have to reduce your wardrobe to identical pieces, but try creating small uniforms for different contexts: work, home, exercise, or simplify your breakfast options during the week. Many people who experience this reduction of choices report not only less stress, but also more satisfaction with the choices they do make. The Japanese have a concept called Ichigo Ichi, one time, one meeting, the understanding that each moment is unique and will never be repeated. When we live overwhelmed, we speed up. We eat while checking emails. We talk while thinking about the next task. We sleep with the TV on. Japanese minimalism invites us to slow down, not just to have less, but to do less, with more presence. A tea ceremony teacher taught me that traditionally, the path to the tea house is deliberately slow and winding. We need to slow down the body so that the mind can keep up, she explained. Otherwise, we arrive physically, but our mind is still in the office. Start with one meal a day consumed without screens, without reading, without conversation, just you and the food. Observe the colors, textures, aromas. Feel gratitude for the food and for all who contributed to it reaching you. A Zen monk I met during a visit to Kamakura told me, "In the West, you try to manage time as if it were a resource to be exploited. In Zen, we learn to harmonize with time. The difference is subtle, but it transforms everything." Now let's talk about practical applications. How can you start your journey in Japanese minimalism without feeling like you're abandoning everything? Start with the digital. It's the easiest and has an immediate impact. 1. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Be honest, what really can't wait a few hours? 2. Delete apps you use less than once a week. 3. Clean up your email subscriptions. Keep only what genuinely brings value. A Japanese mindfulness teacher I met keeps what she calls a disconnection box in her entryway. Everyone in the family deposits their devices there upon arriving home and can only retrieve them after a simple ritual, breathing deeply 3 times and mentioning one thing they are grateful for that day. Next, choose a small space in your home to transform. 1. Completely empty a drawer, shelf, or even a table. 2. Before putting anything back, ask, does this have practical function or true sentimental value? 3. Organize the items with space between them. Remember emptiness is also part of the composition. A Japanese architect who designs minimalist spaces told me that she always starts her creative process with a simple ritual, washing her hands with cold water and sitting in silence for 2 minutes. It's nothing elaborate, she explained, but this small ritual clears my mind of previous projects and prepares me to create with a clean mental canvas. For your finances, try the Kakebo method. a Japanese budgeting system that divides expenses into 4 categories. 1. Needs, what is essential to live. 2. Wants, small pleasures and comforts. 3. Culture, education, books, experiences. 4. Unexpected, emergencies and unplanned expenses. The beauty of this system is not in its complexity, it's quite simple, but in the awareness it brings to each expense. A financial consultant who worked for years in Tokyo told me about an elderly client who kept impeccable financial records in a simple notebook for over 50 years. She didn't have spreadsheets or apps, just deep awareness of every yen that entered and left her life. Her relationship with money was not one of accumulation, but of conscious flow. For your relationships, Japanese minimalism offers a valuable perspective: quality over quantity, depth over breadth, over... The Japanese concept of en refers to the connections between people, not just family or friendship ties, but the energetic quality of these connections. A Japanese therapist told me that she always advises her patients to visualize relationships as plants. Some need constant sun, others occasional attention, and some, no matter how hard we try, will not flourish in our particular garden. Recognizing this is not giving up, it's wisdom. Japanese minimalism teaches us that less can be more, not as a design slogan, but as a lived experience. Less distractions mean more focus. Less possessions mean more freedom. Less noise means more clarity. Less hurry means more life. Perhaps the biggest challenge is accepting impermanence, the Japanese principle of mono no aware that reminds us of the transient beauty of all things. The cherry blossom is not less precious because it lasts only a few days. On the contrary, its beauty is amplified by its brevity. Our lives, our relationships, our possessions, everything is temporary. Recognizing this does not bring sadness, but a deeper appreciation of what we have now. A Japanese landscaper who designs minimalist gardens explained his process to me. I start by identifying what I can remove, not what I can add. Beauty arises not from the things we put in, but from the space we create so that the essential can breathe. Before we finish, I want to make it clear. Japanese minimalism is not about living with the absolute minimum. It's not a competition of who has less. It's not about suffering deprivation or denying pleasures. It's about conscious choice. It's about creating space, physical, mental, and emotional, for what really matters. It's about discovering that often what we're looking for is already here, just covered by layers of habits that no longer serve us. How to experience this today? Start small. Turn off the notifications on your phone. Dedicate 5 minutes to sit in silence before starting your day, or simply organize a drawer with full attention. The Japanese poet Matsuo Basho wrote, "Do not follow the ancients, seek what they sought." Japanese minimalism does not invite imitation of an aesthetic style, but to the pursuit of the same clarity and intention that inspired this philosophy. As the Japanese masters of tidying up say, true tidying happens first in the heart. Start there and the rest will follow naturally. Thank you for being here. If this video brought any value to you, remember that the best way to thank me is not to accumulate more content, but to apply at least one idea in your life. Share this blessed video so that it can touch and help other people like you and me. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for being part of our faith community. If you would like to support our channel a little more, consider becoming a member of our channel. I leave here 2 more videos so that you can continue your search. Thank you, and God bless you all. See you later.